Can you build a Digimon deck with only $25? And the short answer is yes, but the more important question is, can you actually win with a $25 Digimon deck in a tournament? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, as we'll find out, because you guys love one of my other ACU episodes so much, where I did a challenge of trying to build a $70 deck and even almost won an entire tournament off of it. So to up the challenge this time, we're going to try to do exactly the same thing, but with a much lower budget. But another big question is, what deck should I go for this time? Like I mentioned from before, I always recommend picking up new decks whenever a new set drops. And since the latest one for me during this time is the EX10 Sinister Order, this is going to be my go-to. You see, the thing is, I opened so many boxes of this set just to try and chase after the insanely hard to pull Black Wargreymon Ace card that is alt art with black and gold. And sadly, I didn't pull one in the end. But during the process, I pulled so many of these guys. And yep, it's Bagra Army. I got so many of these cards to the point that I have a playset of each card within the archetype, and also many of you guys have always been asking me to cover an updated guide for it as well, so I guess it was meant to be. And yeah, I read all of your comments, but did you know if you are a AVAULT Club premium member on the channel, you can even make deck list requests too? You know, the funny thing is that I actually made a video a while ago being part of the Why Nobody Plays series, and Bagra Army was one of them. In those kinds of videos, I do a deep dive and analysis on the actual archetype, talking about each individual card, but most importantly, critiquing on what it's kind of lacking, why people aren't playing it, and sort of a little bit of history. But most importantly, I try to predict and also suggest potential improvements that the archetype can receive based on new cards and support. So I want to do a little fun exercise just to review based on back what I said and compare it to what the cards we got from today in EX10. One of the main things I mentioned was not having a level 4 with enough payoff that can be digicrossed, and also giving you better value when you put it on the board. The first solution I have is to include some form or method for the deck to be able to play the level 4s with digicross early, such as being in the first turn. That way the disruptive effects become more meaningful, and it actually might help slow the game down. And the crazy thing is that the EX10 Tuarmon is exactly what that needs. Now the deck is just absolutely insane because that card itself can just do so many things for you. I also even called that we needed a purple and black Dark Knightmon that is supposed to work specifically with Bagra Army. Not only just a digicross within the own Dark Knightmon archetype, but it allows you to digivolve on top of your level 4s if you ever need to go for a stack building combo instead of just hard playing them. The archetype can also use a purple and black Dark Knightmon that actually synergizes with the deck core. I find that this is a pretty cool exercise just to compare and contrast on how accurate my predictions were, and some of them were pretty accurate, some of them were just, yeah, you know, whatever, but at the end of the day, I like it. It's fun to have a bit of like a self-reflection on this. But either way, I'm glad that the deck has been gaining a bit more traction at the moment. Some of you guys might say this must be destiny because now I'm finally playing this deck. But one really important tip that I gotta mention, because since this is a budget challenge after all, don't be like me where I cracked open a ton of packs and booster boxes, because you guys can easily build this deck if you're interested just by going through the singles. And I'll show you exactly how much it costs right now.
Okay, so here I'm on TCG Player. I'm gonna check out like Sinister Order. I'm gonna filter by like cards. Let's go with just purple cards because that's pretty much what all the Bagra Army cards are all about. Have a load up. So nothing is in page 1 at all, unless if it's like alt arts. But you know, since it's budget, we're trying to go with like the lowest rarity. So this is like where the Bagra Army cards begin with darknessbagramon being the SR main boss card of the deck is only like 48 cents with the first listing. Market price 80 cents, so pretty much like I'd say just $1. Lilithmon here, Blastmon, they're like all less than like 10 cents. And then everything is like on page 3 where you have regular Bagramon there, Tuarmon right here, and what else do we have? Deadly Axemon, Run It, Dark Knightmon, Damemon, Skull Knight, Uamano and Nene, even Tactimon right here. So everything is just like incredibly and insanely cheap. And one thing I want to make sure to point out, guys, like this is like the prices at the time of like recording this video, so prices are subject to change, you know, depending on market trends and everything like that. But you know, as of you guys are watching this video right now, this is the date of the pricing that we're seeing. So yeah, everything is really affordable.
At this point, I'm like 99.99999% confident that this deck is going to be extremely budget friendly, but the most important thing to do next is to study and learn the cards, which is reading. After referencing other deck lists and how other players build a Bagra Army deck, I realized there are two ways to go about it. One is the traditional build, which is pure within the archetype, and the second version is actually utilizing the Hunters package from BT12. Before I decide on which build I'm going to go for this video, what I'm going to do is going to playtest both versions and see how I feel about them and which one I actually personally prefer. As I was playtesting, my back started to feel a little bit sore. And that's from all the sitting that I've been doing the entire day, and there's no way this posture was good for me either. But that was exactly the moment when FlexiSpot reached out to me. FlexiSpot is known to make the best go-to height adjustable standing desks and ergonomic solutions that is intended to help people upgrade their home offices. So they sent me one of their standing desks, which arrived in a couple of days. Since Sam was here helping me playtest the Bagra Army deck anyways, I also had him help me build the desk together. It comes with a height adjustable base with heavy material grade that is built to last. You get to choose your choice of tabletop, which comes with different finishes and sizes to suit your needs and preferences. Adjusting the height is incredibly easy with a single press of a button. And now with my new FlexiSpot table, I can switch between sitting and standing anytime while I'm working on these videos for you guys. And the best thing is, because of that, my back is now no longer sore. I know, this is a sponsorship at the end of the day, but to be really honest, I've been eyeing out for this desk for the longest time. Even without FlexiSpot reaching out to me, I was gonna get myself a standing desk either way sooner or later, and it just so happens that this brand was gonna be my first choice to begin with. So if you're looking for a standing desk or ergonomic chair for yourself, I highly recommend getting one from these guys, and make sure to use my referral link in the description box down below because it really helps support me and the channel as well. And thank you guys again for the support, and thank you FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Alright, after testing with both builds, here is what I think. The pure version focuses within the archetype more, using cards from EX10 as well as BT10. The low end focuses on searching to find your BT10U as soon as possible because it is the most important card of the deck. Chip away at your opponent's security as much as possible and use their save mechanic to tuck them underneath you so you can gather more cards to your hand and gain memory. Keep in mind, this is an all turns effects, which is really good too. There's so many different level 4s to choose from, but from the new EX10, Gallantmon is a must-have as it has tons of tools of removal and helps you rushes for game. Since getting out you as soon as possible is the most crucial key, most level 4s can play him for free, such as the BT10 Damemon, Promo Skullknightmon, and even the BT12 Shoutmon King version, which I think works very well together. You don't necessarily digivolve much in this deck because it mainly uses the Digicross mechanic to help you reduce the play cost of your level 4s as well as your level 6 Bagra Army boss cards to control the mid game, and then you win from there. Bagramon being the main one can tuck away any of your opponent's Digimon and follow up with a darknessbagramon to delete them. Gallantmon can steal turns by taunting your opponent's Digimon and trashing its own sources to gain memory, and then you get to deal a ton of damage out of nowhere to help you close games even faster. I've also included the BT21 Tagiru to help boost out the consistency when it comes to tucking additional sources with save in its text at the start of the main phase. This also helps us reduce our Digivolution costs to get into our level 4s, which whenever we need to. This is such a good card in helping you cycle through your hand and gain memory where you would just include it for both the regular and the Hunter version to begin with. Speaking of the Hunter version, it uses most cards from BT12, such as Gumdramon, Psychmon, Arrestadramon, and the Superior Mode 2. In theory, it makes a lot of sense because all these cards have the save keyword in its text, meaning it has a lot of synergy when it comes to its effects of tucking away, drawing cards, and gaining a lot of advantage. It also has a lot of aggression with Arrestadramon, so it can rush attacks to help you close out games even faster. However, the top end isn't as heavy where you would only really play 2 to 5 level 6 Bagra Army Digimon just for a bit of control whenever you need to. Superior mode works very well with Bagramon by itself, since it has the same effect to tuck away your opponent's Digimon, and then you get to proc its all turns effects once again. To be real honest, I actually personally prefer the Hunter version of the deck, just because I feel like you can cycle, draw so many cards, and ramp up very quickly, giving you a lot of options for early game play. Whereas the pure version seems to take a bit more time to ramp up, as you get your draw power later in the game once you trash your own sources. But despite my personal opinion, this video at the end of the day is still a budget challenge. So what I'll do is I'll let the final price of the builds make the decision, where the cheaper one will be the one that I'm going to go for.
Okay, so I'm back on the computer here, guys, and I listed the entire deck list with all the quantities and the prices pulled from TCG Player. And I'm just gonna go straight and reveal to you guys that the final total price for this deck is only $22.67. And this is for the pure build, the pure Bagra Army build. And that's like incredibly cheap, like even lower than the actual title of the video, which I just put $25 just to round it up a little bit. But if you look at like some of the cards, like everything is just like less than $1. Everything is just like pennies and cents. I mean, the most expensive card you guys can see is like Calling from Darkness, which is like $2. And then otherwise there's like Tagiru from BT21, which is still like a relatively newer card, but it is an SR card after all. But there's a few really important notes that I want to mention when you're building this deck. First thing, when you're grabbing cards, there's Buzzing Fist. And you guys can see there's two of them. They're both from BT10, which is the older set. But most importantly, Buzzing Fist, you want to get the one that is from the revision pack, because the original printing from BT10, which is the actual set, it has the wrong effect in the security where it lets you play a Black Tamer, and that doesn't really do anything for the deck aside from playing the new Yu and Amano and the new Nene, which is black. But the actual effect is actually supposed to play a Yu Amano specifically, which is really important because you need to play out your BT10 Yu Amano, and this has a correct text effect. So if you guys are new and getting like these cards for the first time, I would highly suggest getting the revision pack one so you don't get it mixed up, so you don't have the wrong text effect when you're playing the card. Of course, you can still play like the wrong one, but make sure that you have to apply the correct effect either way. So you're gonna have to remember on top of your head. So that's really up to you guys at the end of the day. The other thing I want to quickly talk about is I am running the promo Skull Knightmon right here. So the thing is, this card is like $10–16 market price, which is a lot, which like bumps up the price of that by a huge margin, obviously. But this card is like the older one. But the nice thing is like the actual box topper that came in EX10 reprinted this card, so it's only like $1.61 or $1.76 like market price based on the listing I can find, which is a huge difference. So if you guys can, get the alt art one instead. It looks nicer, it's a newer print, it's foiled and cheaper, so it's definitely much more worth it. But for me, I got these like a long time ago, so I'm going to be using this specifically in my own deck. But otherwise, like, so I don't really need these new ones, but you know, in order just to like for pricing's sake and to show you guys, like, yeah, just get the new one instead. Like, it's the same effect, exact same card, nicer looking with the alt art as well. The other thing is now I'm going to show you guys the Hunter build, which actually totals up to $37.14. It's a little bit more expensive than the pure build, but honestly it's still relatively budget. So based on these results, we can see the clear winner is going to be the pure build, and that's exactly what I'm going to be going for. I'm going to be going for this list here instead. But just to show you guys a little bit of the differences, since I did prefer this personally, is that you include cards, which is the main one right here. You also play Tagiru as well, but you play an extra copy of it. There is also the Digimon Superior Mode, which is roughly like $2 to $3 for each copy, and you play 2 copies of that, so that helps bumps up the price by a little bit. But the main thing that really takes it like a $10 like higher price point is the actual Digimon from BT16, which you play normally in Virus Imperial. But just to quickly let you guys know, the intention of playing like that one copy of this card right here, which I put as $10, it's just so that you can evo on top of the level 4 that you already have, and then you can give something that is like, you know, that is played like prior, which you might have Digicross like a level 3 for 2 costs on the board, and you can give it rush and immediately attack. So the thing is, like, you're not going to be able to like play anything back from trash with this Dino Beamon. It's really there just for an extra aggression and extra attack whenever you need to use it, which helps close out games, which is kind of nice. So that's really about it. But since I'm going with the actual pure build here in the end, the rest of the cards I really need to get are just from BT10. So I want to quickly just show you guys as well, like the prices here from BT10, like all of these are still relatively low. Like the old Uemano that you need for the Choo-Choo-Mon, it's like Mad Leomon if you want to play it, Buzzing Fist like I talked about earlier, there's Damemon, Troopmon, Soundbirdmon, anything that's like Bagra Army, like archetype related, they're all just like really low. So yeah, just showing you guys these prices, but I think we have a clear winner based on both of these.
Even though I like the playstyle of the Hunter version more, I'm still pretty happy with the end result of the pure build being the final decision, and that's just because it just flows better with the whole story on how I got all these cards together to begin with. And the nice thing is that I don't necessarily need to go out of my way to hunt for more cards outside of the set. But if you guys ever want to see the Hunter version, then make sure to join the AVAULT Club, because that's where I posted the deck list for that as well. So make sure to join, and I appreciate the support. And with that being said, here is my pure build with the full archetype ready to go. So let's take it to locals and see if we can win with it. Round 1, I faced against Gallantmon, which is probably the best deck of the format at the moment. Not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous because it's definitely gonna be an uphill battle. But this would be a really good test and challenge to see how good this deck really is. Surprisingly, during the course of the game, it wasn't as hard as I thought. The game plan is to chip away the opponent's security down as much as possible while they set up and find their OTK line of pieces. And to be honest, there isn't much you can really do to stop the OTK from happening to begin with. Bagramon is quite tricky to pull off as well, especially when they don't have a tamer, since the deck would rarely play out two bodies at the same time. But it is important to keep a lookout whenever the opponent chooses to build their stack outside in order for you to take advantage, because that was exactly what the opponents did, and they established a Gallantmon X out early with a tamer, which it didn't have a War Growl X to deal the extra damage for the OTK. So when it came into my turn, I actually had a chance to get rid of it with darknessbagramon. But I unfortunately miscounted my own trash, where I didn't have the 3 pieces necessarily to regather underneath it in order to delete something. And as a matter of fact, I had a way to make sure that I was able to achieve that too. Because if I did afterwards, I could have easily won from there since the opponent was on their hatching turn and low on security. But because of that misplay, I left the Gallantmon X on the board and the opponent ended up finishing me off instead. Since I lost in game 2, I get to choose to go first or second. And I want to talk about the pros and cons of both. So let's begin with first. If I went first, I want to see a rookie plus a tamer that I can save underneath to gather momentum and start chipping them as early as possible. But whereas if I choose to go second, I get to have an extra draw, a little bit of memory to set up my tamer as well, and then attack a little later. But that's also mainly intended to force the Gallantmon player to go first so that they don't get the extra draw, hoping that they might not find their optimal stack building pieces, which they might have to end up building an awkward one, which could favor me later on too. But in the end, I knew I need to rush them down as quickly as I can, so I decided to go for first. Either way, the opponent was able to climb up to their optimal stack very quickly and took out all of my security. But the lucky thing for me is that they didn't have Omnimon X to finish me off just yet. So I had a bit more time and another turn to make a comeback play. This time they had a tamer, so I was able to tuck their stack away entirely, but in order to do that, the really important thing that I had to do was to make sure to pass the memory gauge to the opponent's side whenever I play out Bagramon to tuck away the Gallantmon X in order to play around its protection effect. However, the opponent was still able to close out the game in the following turn just by simply playing out the promo Gallantmon for free, just because Bagramon itself is 13k DP. I gotta admit, I was a little bit bummed down after losing my first round because I really want to show you guys how I can go undefeated with the deck. But either way, I'm not gonna let the climax go away because it's time to make a comeback and I'm gonna try to win the rest of it from now on. Round 2, I faced against 7 Great Demon Lords, and this is definitely a favorable matchup because a lot of their removal is based on deletion, and me having save, I can go underneath tamers, disrupt their turns with you, and gain advantage through that way. I don't mind having my rookies getting deleted anyways, so I'm going to continuously chip them as much as possible to rush them down. Despite going second, I had quite a bit of memory to work with as well, so I can set up even better. And the main idea is to try to give them as little memory as possible since they use quite a lot per turn. I know for a fact that Loosemon Chaos Mode is a thing, and they're going to force me to delete one of my own tamers, which is most likely going to try to get rid of my U with a lot of sources underneath. So in order to keep him safe, I've always made sure to end the turn with a disposable tamer on the side or another Digimon that I can easily delete off of. Eventually, I was able to go into Blastmon with Fragment to stay alive and then finish the game the next turn. Game 2 went on slightly longer, but I followed exactly the same play pattern and game plan. Once again, chipping away at their security as much as I can, and whenever I can, I built a board with tons of tamers, and at that point, I was cycling cards super efficiently together with Tagiru. As soon as I noticed the opponent established their own tamer, I used Bagramon to tuck away their 7th grade Demon Lord so that the gate won't end up deleting them to add additional sources. Kept on attacking my opponent as much as I can, and eventually finish it off with Tuarmon as I rush for game. Round 3, I faced against Gallantmon once again, but this time a different player. This is the moment I knew that I had to get my redemption. I won the die roll, so I went first. Similar to game 1 of the first round, I saw the opponent build a stack outside with a tamer, and I immediately took advantage of it by tucking away their Gallant X. By doing so, the following turn, I tried to deal as much damage as possible and then built a whiteboard along with Tuarmon that has a redirect inherent effect from the Darknessbagramon and retaliation as well. By leaving the opponent with 1 memory to work with only, they weren't able to climb up into a Gallant, so I finished them off the next turn. Game 2, the opponent wanted to go first to prevent us from chipping away their security early, but despite that, I continue to do so whenever I can in my push-out turns. I even went into an early Tuarmon play just to get rid of their Gallantmon from the battle area, and that's to prevent them from building on top of that particular Gallantmon. This then forces them to push out the other Gallantmon in the breeding area so that they have to build their stack outside. Because by doing so, they established a tamer, and once again, I removed it right away with Bagramon. By having such a huge lead and momentum, I was able to keep them at bay with 1 memory the following turns. Even though when they removed my Bagramon with the BT13 Gallant, I had enough rookies to chip out the rest of their security, and then I had the MVP Tuarmon to finish it off with Rush once again. And with that, I won the round 2-0, keeping my promise to stay undefeated for the rest of the entire tournament, which I end up finishing with 2 wins and 1 loss. Still unfortunate that I lost my first round, but there are a lot of plays I felt like I could have improved on and played better as a whole, so it's definitely a good reflection. Either way, I had a lot of fun learning more about the new style of Bagra Army, and it was really nice to see it in action for myself. After a tournament run, there are a few slight tweaks that I like to make to the deck or other cards that I might consider adding into it as well. The first thought I had in mind was to run the BT15 Demimeramon as my egg to give me a bit more draw power and trash away my high level Digimon in the early stages. And I'm also considering replacing ALittleSpoon for the BT10 Blastmon instead, just so I can rush and blitz to win games aside from just utilizing Tuarmon. ALittleSpoon feels rather slow with her removal effect, as it can be easy for the opponent to play around, which is why I felt like I didn't really get much use of her. I might even try Tactimon from EX10 just for a bit of protection, so that my Bagramon or darknessbagramon can stay on the board for a little longer. I could also play Purple Scramble just to help reduce the evo cost to get into darknessbagra, but most importantly to recur resources whenever I need from the trash. I could also play the Troopmon and Mad Leomon package instead of Damemon for early game disruption effects, and then with the EX10 Skull Knightmon and Deadly Axemon just to digicross into Dark Knightmon a little bit more consistently. It can act as a level 5 bridge to help you evo into level 6s other than just digicrossing too. Overall, I think Bagra Army is in a pretty good spot. Does it need more support? Maybe just a little boost when it comes to aggression, just to deal a little bit more damage, but overall the control is really good. I hope this video encourages you guys to believe that a $25 deck can certainly win in Digimon. There are certainly quite a number of budget decks out there that you can build and try to compete against the meta at the moment. At the end of the day, it just takes a bit of time and practice, but once you master it, you will for sure begin terrorizing like a true villain. Whether you plan on playing this deck at locals or trying to take it even further in the competitive level, at the end of the day, the most important thing is to have fun, which I certainly did in this video. So if you guys want to see more ACU episodes and budget challenges, make sure to give this video a like and comment down below on what others I should consider doing. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. We'll see you in the next video, and it's AVAULT signing out.